There is a signal arriving in your life right now that you have been misreading. Not misreading because you are inattentive. Not misreading because you lack the tool. Misreading because the signal does not come in a form that your previous version of self was built to receive. It comes in the form of disruption. It comes in the form of things not working the way they used to work. It comes in the form of a strange, persistent sense that the life you built with enormous care and real effort has started to feel like a room that no longer fits the size of what you have become. And because disruption has always been categorized as a problem, because the not working has always been labeled as failure, because the not fitting has always been diagnosed as something wrong with you, you have been solving for the wrong variable. You have been trying to fix what the field is actually trying to break open. This transmission is about what that signal actually is. What it means in precise, specific terms. Why it is arriving now, for you, in this particular sequence of events that you have been living through. And what it is asking you to do, which is not what you think. The phrase "chosen one" carries enormous weight in human mythology. It appears in every major tradition, every culture that has ever tried to articulate something it could barely name, and it has been so overused, so inflated, so wrapped in the language of specialness and destiny and exceptionalism, that most people who hear it now either dismiss it as ego or receive it as a kind of spiritual flattery that makes them feel momentarily elevated without actually changing anything. This transmission is not doing either of those things. When the quantum field sends a signal to a specific configuration of consciousness, it is not because that configuration is cosmically superior to others. It is because that configuration has reached the precise resonance frequency required for a state transition. The field is not choosing you because you are special. The field is responding to what you have become. And what you have become has crossed a threshold that most people never reach, not because they are less capable, but because they never stayed in the pressure long enough to be changed by it. You stayed. That is what this is about. Before we go further, feel where you are right now. Not in the room, not in the chair, not in the circumstances of your day. Feel where you are in the arc of your own life. There is a version of you that existed 5 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, maybe 6 months ago, that would not recognize the questions you are carrying today. The things that used to satisfy you have stopped satisfying you in the same way. The explanations that used to work for why your life is the way it is have started to feel thin, like they are papering over something that needs to be seen directly. The relationships, the work, the daily architecture of how you move through the world. Some of it still fits, but some of it has started to produce this low-frequency friction. Not dramatic, not crisis level, just a persistent sense of misalignment, like wearing shoes that are half a size too small. You can walk in them. You have been walking in them. But you know. That knowing is the signal. And here is what the signal is made of. In quantum mechanics, there is a phenomenon called quantum coherence. It describes the condition in which a quantum system maintains phase relationships between its possible states. When a system is coherent, its components are not just related to each other. They are synchronized in a way that produces effects that would be impossible if those components were acting independently. Coherence is the condition that makes quantum phenomena possible. It is the condition that makes superposition real rather than theoretical. And coherence is extraordinarily sensitive. It is easily disrupted by interaction with the environment, by noise, by thermal fluctuation, by any kind of measurement or observation that forces the system to declare a definite state before it is ready. Your consciousness has been building coherence. Every experience you have had that you did not understand at the time, but could not stop thinking about. Every period of pressure that changed something fundamental in how you see. Every loss that stripped away a layer of identity you had been wearing without knowing you were wearing it. Every moment of inexplicable certainty that arrived without a logical source. All of it has been increasing the coherence of your internal quantum state. The disruptions were not interference. They were tuning. The losses were not subtraction. They were the removal of noise that was preventing coherence from forming. The pressure was not punishment. It was the exact condition required to force a phase transition. You are coherent now in a way you were not before. And coherence in a quantum system does something specific. It makes the system sensitive to fields and signals that incoherent systems cannot detect. This is not metaphor. This is the actual mechanism. Quantum biology has demonstrated that certain biological systems, the navigation apparatus of migratory birds, the photosynthetic machinery of plants, the olfactory receptors that allow you to distinguish between thousands of distinct molecular structures. These systems exploit quantum coherence to perform functions that classical physics cannot explain. They are sensitive to information that classical systems cannot receive because they are operating in a quantum regime that classical systems cannot access. The European robin is a useful case to sit with here. This small bird navigates thousands of miles between continents with a precision that GPS systems are designed to approximate. For decades, scientists assumed the mechanism was magnetic, that the bird contained some biological compass. What they found instead was something stranger and more instructive. The robin's navigation depends on a quantum effect called the radical pair mechanism, in which pairs of electrons in the bird's eye maintain quantum entanglement long enough to be influenced by the Earth's magnetic field. The entangled electrons are held in coherence inside a protein called cryptochrome, and the outcome of their interaction which of the two possible spin states the pair collapses into, is sensitive to the orientation of the magnetic field. The bird reads direction from the collapse of quantum superposition happening inside its own visual system. It does not see the magnetic field the way it sees a tree or a horizon. It perceives it as a modulation of its visual experience, a kind of overlay that the classical part of its nervous system then translates into navigational behavior. What makes this relevant to you is not the bird, it is the architecture. A biological system that has achieved sufficient quantum coherence in a specific structure becomes sensitive to a field that was always present, but that incoherent systems cannot detect. The field did not change. The bird did not acquire a new organ. The coherence is what opened the channel. When your consciousness reaches a sufficient degree of coherence, it becomes sensitive to a different order of signal. The field that was always present, the field that has been shaping the events of your life in ways you have sometimes glimpsed and sometimes missed entirely, becomes perceptible in a way it was not before. Not because the field has changed, because you have changed, because the coherence you have built through pressure and loss and sustained attention has opened a channel that was not open before. If this is landing in you the way it seems to be landing, here is something I want to offer before we go further. Have you spent years shielding yourself from other people's energy, boundaries, releases, energy clearings, and still wake at 3 a.m., running someone else's anxiety? Those tools treat it as outside you. It's not. Your nervous system has adjusted to every room for so long, it forgot its baseline. The sealed timeline, a quantum guide to becoming untouchable by wrong frequencies, walks through the 5-step crossing, the adjusting pattern, the breaking point, the crossing itself, what stable feels like, and why old evidence shows up. Every tool you tried treated this as an outside problem. This one ends the adjusting pattern that made you a receiver in the first place. The longer you adjust, the harder it gets to come back to yourself. Open it tonight. It's in the pinned comment below. Now, back to the thread we were following. Because what the field is doing at this level of coherence is precisely what this transmission was built to illuminate. This is what people have been trying to describe for thousands of years when they speak of awakening, of initiation, of the chosen one, of the one who has been prepared. They were not describing a mystical selection process. They were describing a state transition in consciousness that makes a new order of perception available. The signal the field is sending you right now is not arriving in the form of words or visions or external events, though it may be expressing through all of those. It is arriving as a change in what you are sensitive to. You are receiving information now that you were not equipped to receive before. And the reason it feels like disruption, the reason it feels like things are breaking apart rather than coming together, is that the new signal is incompatible with the architecture you built to navigate the old one. The room is not too small. You have grown beyond it. If this transmission is landing in you the way it seems to be landing, consider subscribing and leaving a like so this signal reaches others who are standing at the same threshold. Let me be specific about what this signal looks like when it arrives. The first form is the collapse of motivation that used to work. You had goals. You pursued them with genuine energy. And then something shifted, and the energy stopped coming. Not because you became lazy, not because you lost discipline, but because the goals themselves stopped generating the pull they once generated. This is not depression, though it can look like depression from the outside and can feel like it from the inside. This is what happens when a system has outgrown the attractor state that was organizing its behavior. In dynamical systems theory, an attractor is a state or set of states toward which a system naturally evolves from a wide variety of starting conditions. Your goals, your ambitions, your sense of what success means. These were attractor states. They organized your energy. They gave direction to your movement. And when you outgrow an attractor, when your system evolves past the basin that attractor occupied, the pull simply stops, not gradually. Suddenly, one day, the thing that used to pull you forward is just a thing. No charge, no gravity. And you stand there wondering what is wrong with you, not understanding that nothing is wrong with you, that you have simply evolved past the attractor that was running your life. The second form is the sudden inadequacy of your explanations. You had a story about why your life is the way it is, a coherent narrative that connected cause to effect, that explained the gaps and the difficulties and the choices in a way that felt true. And then the story started to feel thin. Not wrong exactly, but incomplete in a way you cannot fully articulate. You keep trying to tell it, and something in you resists, not with a counter-narrative, just with a kind of quiet refusal. The story does not fit anymore. This happens because consciousness, operating at a new coherence level, perceives causal structures that were invisible at the previous level. You are not losing your grip on reality. You are gaining a grip on a more complete version of it. The explanations feel thin because they are thin. They were built to navigate a reality that is smaller than the one you are now perceiving. The third form is the intensification of synchronicity. Events that seem too specifically relevant to be coincidental. Encounters that arrive at precisely the moment their content becomes relevant to something you are working through internally. Information that appears in your path, that addresses the exact question you have been carrying without having spoken it to anyone. The quantum field communicating through the structure of events rather than through direct instruction. This is not magical thinking. This is the observable result of what happens when a coherent system begins to interact with its environment at a quantum level rather than a purely classical level. The system becomes sensitive to correlations that incoherent systems cannot detect, and those correlations begin to organize experience in ways that feel meaningful because they are meaningful. The synchronicities are not coincidences that you are pattern matching into significance. They are the signal. They are the field demonstrating that it has received your frequency and is responding. The fourth form is the specific quality of loneliness that does not respond to company. You can be in a room full of people who care about you and still feel this particular ache that is not about the people in the room. It is the loneliness of standing at an edge that no one around you can see. It is the loneliness of having crossed into a perceptual territory that you do not yet have language for, and that the people closest to you have not yet entered. This is one of the most disorienting aspects of the threshold experience, because it generates the fear that something has gone wrong with your capacity for connection. Nothing has gone wrong. You have simply moved ahead of the available community. The ache is real. The ache is also a signal. It is pointing you toward a kind of connection that operates at the frequency you have now reached, which is not the same as the frequency that organized your previous relationships. There is a fifth form that receives less attention than the others, and it may be the most important one to name because it is the one most likely to be misread as a symptom of something wrong rather than a signal of something opening. It is the sudden and specific inability to perform yourself. There is a version of you that has been performing for years. Not dishonestly, not cynically, but performing in the sense that you have learned how to present yourself in a way that is legible to the world you have been navigating. You have learned the register, the tone, the level of ambition that is acceptable to name, the degree of uncertainty that is safe to show, the version of your inner life that translates into the social language of your environment. And this performance was not a betrayal of yourself. It was a necessary translation. Every human being who operates in a social world develops a translation layer between their interior and their exterior. The translation layer is not the problem. The problem, if you can call it a problem, is that the translation layer was built to translate a previous version of your interior. And the interior has changed. The new signal, the new organizational principle, the new coherence does not translate cleanly into the old performance. When you try to speak from the new center using the old language, something comes out wrong. Not wrong in a way that others necessarily notice. Wrong in a way that you feel in your body. A kind of internal dissonance, like playing a chord on an instrument that is tuned to a different key. The note sounds, but it does not ring true. This is why conversations that used to feel natural have started to feel effortful. This is why some of your closest relationships have developed a subtle friction that you cannot fully explain, and that the other person may not even be aware of. This is why you sometimes find yourself in the middle of a sentence and feel a strange distance from the words coming out of your mouth, as if you are watching yourself speak rather than speaking. The translation layer is failing, not because you are becoming less authentic, but because you are becoming more so. And the authenticity of the new interior does not fit the translation layer built for the old one. This is not a social problem. It is a signal. It is the field telling you that the new organizational principle has developed to the point where it needs direct expression rather than translation. That the performance, which served you well, has reached its completion. That what is being asked of you now is not a better performance of the new self, but the actual presence of it. These 5 forms are not a checklist. You may be living one of them intensely and barely touching the others. You may be in the middle of all of them at once. The specific configuration does not matter. What matters is the recognition that these experiences, which you have probably been treating as problems to solve, are not problems. They are the signal. And the signal is not asking you to fix anything. It is asking you to cross a threshold. If any of these 5 forms have been present in your life, I want to hear about it. Tell me in the comments the moment you knew something had fundamentally shifted in you. Not a gradual drift, but the specific instant when you felt yourself standing at an edge you could not step back from. When did you first know the room no longer fit? Now, I want to tell you about a man named Elias. Elias was 43 years old and had built something real. Not spectacular by the metrics of public recognition, but real by any honest measure. He had a business that worked. He had people who depended on him and whom he had not failed. He had a marriage that had survived things that break most marriages. He had the life he had said he wanted when he was 25, and he had built it through the kind of sustained, unglamorous effort that does not make for interesting stories, but makes for actual results. And then, at 43, it stopped working. Not the business, not the marriage, not the external structure of the life. Those continued to function. What stopped working was his relationship to all of it. He would sit in meetings that used to engage him and feel like he was watching them through glass. He would accomplish things that used to feel like victories and feel nothing. He would lie awake at 3 a.m, not with anxiety exactly, not with the racing thoughts of a man whose life is in crisis, but with a kind of alert stillness that he could not name, a sense of standing at the edge of something enormous that he could not see. He went to a therapist. The therapist was excellent. The therapist helped him examine his childhood, his patterns, his attachment style, his relationship with success and worthiness. All of it was true. All of it was useful. And none of it touched the thing that was actually happening. He went to a doctor. The doctor ran blood work. His testosterone was on the lower end of normal. He started supplementing. He felt better physically. He still felt like he was watching his life through glass. He tried meditation. He tried exercise programs. He tried a sabbatical. He tried, in a moment of quiet desperation that he never told anyone about, going to a church he had not attended since childhood, and sitting in the back pew for an hour. Not praying exactly, just sitting, waiting for something he could not name. He was not broken. He was not in crisis. He was not suffering from a deficit of any kind. He was standing at a gate. The gate was the threshold between the version of himself that had been organized around building the life and the version of himself that was being called to live from an entirely different center of gravity. The version that built the life was organized around achievement, around proving, around the construction of a structure that would serve as evidence of his worth. It was a good version. It had done real things, but it had reached its completion. It had accomplished what it was built to accomplish. And consciousness, when it completes a phase, does not simply continue that phase indefinitely. It transitions. The transition is not comfortable. It is not comfortable because the new version does not yet have a clear form. It is emerging. It is in superposition, which means it exists as a probability distribution across multiple possible selves, rather than as a single defined identity. And the old version, the one that knows how to operate, the one that has proven it can function in the world, is still present, still capable, still running the programs that built the life. The two versions coexist in the same body and the same mind and the same daily schedule. And the friction between them is exactly what Elias was experiencing as the glass wall, as the 3 in the morning alertness, as the inexplicable inadequacy of everything that used to be enough. What Elias needed was not a fix. What he needed was a crossing. He found it eventually, not through any single dramatic event, but through a series of smaller crossings that accumulated into the larger one. He had a conversation with a man he barely knew. A chance encounter that lasted 4 hours and that he still cannot fully explain, in which something was said that rearranged the furniture of his entire interior life. He made a decision about his business that everyone around him thought was irrational, and that he could not defend with logic, but that he felt with a certainty that bypassed logic entirely. He had a dream that he remembered not in images, but in a felt sense, a physical knowing that he carried with him for weeks, and that kept pointing him in a direction he had been afraid to look. He crossed, not all at once, not cleanly, not without cost. He lost some things he had valued. He confused people who had built their understanding of him around the previous version. He went through a period of genuine disorientation in which the old self was no longer running the show, and the new self had not yet fully arrived. And he was, for a time, neither. But on the other side, what he found was this: the same life, the same business, the same marriage, but experienced from a completely different center. Not the center of proving, not the center of building evidence of worth. The center of something he had no good word for. Something that felt like being actually present in his own existence for the first time. Like the glass wall had dissolved, and he was no longer watching his life but living it from the inside. The signal had been real. The disruption had been the gate, and the gate had been open the whole time he was trying to fix the disruption. This is what happens when a chosen one tries to solve the signal instead of crossing it. Let me go deeper into the mechanics of what the field is actually doing when it sends this kind of signal. Because understanding the mechanism is part of what allows you to cross rather than resist. In physics, a phase transition is a change in the state of matter, driven by changes in temperature, pressure, or other thermodynamic variables. Water becomes ice. Ice becomes steam. The molecules themselves do not change. The atoms are identical before and after. What changes is the organizational principle that governs how those molecules relate to each other. Below a certain temperature, the organizational principle is crystalline, rigid, locked. Above a certain temperature, it is fluid, mobile, responsive. At the transition point itself, the system is in neither state. It exists in a critical state that has properties of both and the stability of neither. This critical state is not a failure of the system. It is the system in the act of reorganizing at a fundamental level. Your consciousness is in a critical state right now. The organizational principle that has been governing your experience, the attractor states that have been organizing your energy, the explanatory frameworks that have been making sense of your life, these are undergoing a phase transition. The old organizational principle has not yet fully released. The new one has not yet fully established. You are at the transition point, which is why nothing feels stable, which is why the explanations feel thin, which is why the motivations have gone quiet. This is not pathology. This is the precise, necessary, temporary condition of a consciousness in the act of reorganizing at a fundamental level. There is a concept in thermodynamics called latent heat. When water transitions from liquid to steam, it absorbs an enormous amount of energy without changing temperature. The energy goes entirely into the phase transition itself, into the reorganization of molecular structure, and none of it appears as a temperature increase. From the outside, if you were measuring only temperature, it would look like the energy had vanished, like the heat being applied was having no effect. But the energy is not gone. It is doing the most important work of the transition. It is being used to break the bonds of the previous organizational structure so that the new one can form. The energy you have been putting into your life that seems to be disappearing without result is not disappearing. It is being used for latent reorganization. The work you are doing that does not seem to be producing the outcomes it used to produce is not failing. It is being absorbed into a transition that is not yet visible on the surface, but that is fundamentally restructuring the organizational principle of your consciousness. The results will come. They will come from a different place, organized by a different principle, expressing through capacities that are not yet fully formed, but that are forming right now, in the heat of the transition you are in the middle of. This is what the field is doing when it disrupts the patterns that have been running your life. It is not breaking what works. It is dissolving the bonds of an organizational structure that has reached its completion so that the next organizational structure can form. The disruption is the latent heat of your phase transition. There is a third concept from physics that belongs in this transmission, and it is one that most discussions of consciousness and transition miss entirely, because it requires sitting with a discomfort that most frameworks try to resolve too quickly. In quantum mechanics, decoherence is the process by which a quantum system loses its coherence through interaction with its environment. A system that was maintaining superposition, that was holding multiple possible states simultaneously, begins to interact with surrounding particles and fields in ways that entangle it with those surroundings. The information about which state the system is in leaks into the environment. The superposition effectively collapses, not through deliberate measurement, but through the accumulated weight of environmental interaction. The system becomes classical. It loses access to the quantum regime. Decoherence is what has been happening to your consciousness every time you have allowed the noise of the previous organizational principle to override the signal of the new one. Every time you have explained away the synchronicity. Every time you have diagnosed the loss of motivation as laziness rather than transition. Every time you have taken the loneliness of the threshold and tried to resolve it by returning to the social environment of the previous frequency. Every one of those moves was a decoherence event, a moment in which the environment of the old organizational principle interacted with the emerging coherence of the new one and pulled it back toward classical, predictable, already mapped behavior. This is important to understand, not as a source of guilt, but as a precise description of what you are navigating. The coherence you have built is real. It is also under constant pressure from the environment of the previous organizational principle. The people around you who are not at the threshold, the institutions and structures that were built around the previous version of yourself, the internal habits of thought that have been running for decades. All of these are decoherence sources. They are not enemies. They are not wrong. They are simply organized by a different principle, and their interaction with your emerging coherence tends to pull it back toward the familiar. The practice of protecting coherence is not the practice of isolating yourself from your life. It is the practice of developing enough internal stability in the new organizational principle that the decoherence pressure from the environment does not collapse it before it has fully established. This is why the threshold period feels so demanding of attention and energy. You are maintaining quantum coherence in a classical environment. You are holding a new organizational principle in place, long enough for it to become stable enough to survive contact with the world that was built around the previous one. The crossing is what makes the new principle stable. The crossing is what takes the emerging coherence from fragile to robust. This is one of the most precise reasons that the field is asking you to act before certainty. Not because certainty is irrelevant, but because the act of crossing is what transforms the new organizational principle from a fragile emerging state into a stable established one. You cannot protect the coherence indefinitely by not crossing. The coherence requires the crossing to become robust. The gate is not just the passage to the other side. It is the mechanism by which the new state becomes stable enough to persist. Now, I want to talk about what the field is actually asking of you, because this is where most people who are standing at this threshold make the specific mistake that keeps them standing there. The field is not asking you to figure out what comes next. The field is not asking you to construct a plan for the new version of yourself. The field is not asking you to understand the destination before you step through the gate. All of these things, the figuring out, the planning, the needing to see the destination clearly before you move, are behaviors that belong to the previous organizational principle. They are the behaviors of a consciousness organized around control, around the management of uncertainty, around the construction of evidence before commitment. And they are exactly the behaviors that cannot get you through the gate, because the gate opens into a territory that cannot be mapped from the side you are currently standing on. What the field is asking is something much simpler and much harder. It is asking you to respond to the signal with your body before your mind has resolved the question. In quantum mechanics, the act of measurement collapses superposition. A quantum system in superposition exists across multiple possible states simultaneously. The moment it is measured, the moment it interacts with a measuring apparatus in a way that forces it to declare a definite state, the superposition collapses and the system occupies a single definite value. Before measurement, all states are possible. After measurement, only one state is actual. The collapse is not a failure. It is the mechanism by which potential becomes real. Your crossing is a measurement event. The moment you act from the new organizational principle, the moment you make the decision that cannot be justified by the old logic, the moment you respond to the signal with your body before your mind has resolved the question, you collapse the superposition. You force the new state into actuality. Not by figuring it out, not by constructing a plan, by acting from it before you can fully see it. This is what every threshold crossing in human history has required. This is what the stories of the Chosen One have always been trying to describe. Not the specialness of the person, the specific act of crossing without full visibility, the willingness to respond to a signal whose source you cannot verify with methods that belong to the old organizational principle, the willingness to let the measurement happen, to let the superposition collapse, to let the new state become actual through the act of commitment rather than through the act of understanding. The field has sent you a signal. The signal is real. The disruptions are not problems. The collapse of old motivations is not failure. The inadequacy of old explanations is not confusion. The synchronicities are not coincidence. The specific loneliness of standing at an edge no one around you can see is not pathology. All of it is the field demonstrating that you have reached the resonance frequency of the next state. All of it is the gate being open. The question is not whether you are ready. The question is whether you will act before you are certain. Let me take you through something specific now. Not a generic visualization, a practice designed for the exact threshold you are standing at, which is the threshold between the version of yourself that was organized around the previous attractor and the version that is being called into the next one. Find a position that is comfortable but not so comfortable that you will drift. Sitting is better than lying down for this. You want to be alert. You want to be present in your body in a way that is active rather than passive. Take 3 breaths, not special breaths, not controlled breaths, just 3 full cycles of inhale and exhale that are slightly slower and slightly deeper than your default. Let the 3rd exhale be complete. Let it empty you fully before the next inhale arrives. Now bring your attention to the center of your chest, not the heart as a metaphor, the actual physical center of your chest, the sternum, the space behind it. Place your attention there and hold it there. Notice what is present. There may be warmth. There may be a kind of pressure. There may be a quality of aliveness that is distinct from the aliveness of your thinking mind. Whatever is there, just notice it. Do not interpret it yet. Now I want you to bring to mind the specific thing in your life that has stopped working the way it used to work. Not the most dramatic thing, not the most painful thing. The thing that has been producing that low-frequency friction, that persistent sense of misalignment. The thing you have been trying to fix that keeps not staying fixed. Bring it clearly into your attention. Let it be present without trying to solve it. Notice what happens in the center of your chest when you bring this thing to mind. Notice whether the quality of what is there changes, whether the warmth shifts, whether the pressure increases or decreases, whether there is a contraction or an expansion. You are not looking for a dramatic response. You are developing sensitivity to the signal that is already present in your body. Now, without letting go of that thing, I want you to ask a single question, not out loud, internally. And the question is this: what would I do right now if I already knew that this disruption was the gate? Hold the question. Do not answer it with your thinking mind. Let the question sit in the space between the thing that has stopped working and the center of your chest. Let the question be a field rather than a problem. Notice what arises, not as a plan, not as a strategy, as an impulse, as a direction, as a quality of movement that precedes the specific content of the movement. Whatever arises, let it be present without immediately evaluating it. You are not committing to it in this moment. You are simply allowing yourself to feel the signal without the filter of the previous organizational principle. You are letting the field speak without immediately translating it into the language of the old attractor. Now take one more breath, and on the exhale, let the question go, not the answer. The question. Let the question dissolve, and let what remains be what remains. There is a second part to this practice that belongs here, and it addresses something the first part opens, but does not complete. After the question has dissolved,